Robert Costa is an NBC News political analyst, a Washington Post national political reporter, and moderator of Washington Week on PBS. Robert, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I know you just returned from the area. Polls show that Moore is ahead, but with such an unusual race, a lot of people believe that the polls can't be trusted. So from your experience there, where does the race stand right now?
Based on my conversations with many voters, you get the sense that this race is very tight because you have suburban Republicans who are skittish about the candidacy of Roy Moore, and Democrats are more enthused in this deep South Republican state than they have been in a long time. But there are still some burdens on Doug Jones's candidacy, in particular his position, his support for abortion rights. Some voters on the conservative side say they just can't come over the line because of that issue.
Robert, from Twitter to rallies, President Trump clearly all in on Roy Moore now. How much do you think that is going to help him on Tuesday, the president's support? And how is Trump's support playing outside Alabama?
It's an important factor. Voters who I spoke with over the past 4 days say they may not love Roy Moore, but they believe in President Trump's agenda. And to have that kind of full-throated support from the president just a few miles from the state over in Pensacola, Florida, that revs up the Trump base just as Doug Jones is trying to rev up the Democratic base this weekend.
You know, it's interesting. On that note, there's another piece to this. We've talked about the fact that the early calls from top Republicans for Roy Moore to drop out have quieted recently. In fact, the Republican National Committee is once again supporting Moore. So how do you think a Roy Moore win would affect the Republican Party?
The Republican Party is now in Washington a party of insiders, but it's really controlled by outsiders like President Trump. And you saw in his speech in Pensacola last night, he was putting himself forward as someone who would rock Washington, D.C., and he cast Roy Moore as an ally. So if Roy Moore comes to Washington, he will be with President Trump, standing there perhaps against the Republican establishment at times, but it is those outsiders in the GOP who now have power.
All right, Robert Costa, thank you.
Thank you.